Hey guys, I'm going to quickly talk about real numbers. Real numbers just mean any number that is not imaginary. And I know when you first get into algebra, you're like, what does that mean? I mean, how can a number be imaginary? And I'm not going to really get into what an imaginary number is, but if a number is imaginary, it's going to have an I in it, okay? Or it will be a negative under radical, but we're not going to get into that. Just as long, it's just real numbers are the numbers that you're used to seeing, okay? Whole numbers, fractions, decimals, those kind of things. But we really need to distinguish between the two types of real numbers. There are rational and there are irrational. Okay. For most students, it's easier to know what an irrational number is, and then if it's not irrational, then it must be rational if you're dealing with a real number. So there's two types of things you should look out for if it's irrational. If it's irrational and it's a decimal, then it will be a non-terminating decimal. That means it goes on forever. And it's not repeating. Okay. An example would be something like 1.278923334 ... It keeps going. It's not the same value being repeated over and over again. So this would be irrational. And then the second type is a radical that doesn't reduce. A radical is something like a square root or a cube root, and it does not simplify to a whole number. An example would be something like the square root of 10. Okay, the square root of 10 is not a perfect square. Something like square root of 25, well, the square root of 25 is 5, so that would not be a radical that doesn't simplify. But the square root of 10 is not a perfect whole number, so that would be irrational. Now, if it's not one of these two things, it would be rational. So whole numbers, okay, natural numbers. Just a quick recap, you've probably seen these before, but if not, a natural number is any whole number starting at 1. It doesn't include 0, so 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., forever. A whole number is almost the same as a natural number, but it includes 0. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, forever. Then we get into integers. This takes it one step further. This is all the whole numbers plus it's all the negatives. Okay, so let's say -4, -3, -2, -1. That's a comma there. 0, 1, 2, 3, ... Okay, and then anything that's not an integer, a whole number, or natural, we just say it's rational. Okay, now all of them are rational, but these above it have more specific names. But fractions, 3 halves, that's rational. If I have 7.3 repeating, that is not irrational because it's a repeating decimal. Or if I have something like the square root of 25, that's also considered rational because the square root of 25 equals 5, which is an integer or a whole number or a natural number.